In this video, we're gonna walk through a complete and practical flow for handling multiple image uploads using Laravel. You'll learn how to build a real-world system that includes validation, file storage, image resizing, and finally displaying uploaded images, all step by step. But before we begin, a quick note. In this tutorial, our focus will be on building the core logic and functionality, so the UI and design will be kept intentionally minimal, just enough to support the main features. Alright, let's dive in and start building. Let's start by generating a controller to manage image upload. Inside the controller, we'll create two methods. Create method to show the form, and another method, store, to handle the upload. Now let's define the routes for these actions. The first route is for the create method. And the last one is for the store method. This should be create. We'll also redirect the root route to the images.create route. Next, let's create a blade view inside the images folder. Inside the image, and call it create.blade.php. We'll add a form set the action to route admin store, and then add and type multipart from data. This attribute tells the browser how to encode the form data when it's being submitted. It is required when your form includes file uploads. Without this, the uploaded files won't be sent correctly to the server. We also need to specify method to post. Inside the form, let's add CSRF directive. This directive automatically generates a CSRF or cross-site request forgery token and includes it as a hidden field in the form. Laravel uses this token to verify that the request is coming from your own application and not from a malicious third-party site. It helps protect your form from CSRF attacks. Then we add input with type file. We give it a name, images. So this name attribute uses square brackets, which tells Laravel to treat the uploaded files as an array of files instead of just one file. This is essential for handling multiple file uploads. Then we add multiple attribute. This attribute allows users to select more than one file at a time from the file dialog. Without it, the input would only accept one file per submissions. Then accept image asterisk. This limits the file picker to only allow image files like JPG, PNG, etc. It acts as a filter for the file selection dialog, improving user experience and reducing invalid uploads. Note that this is a client-side restriction and can be bypassed, so you still need to validate file types on the server. Last, we add a button. Type submit. Okay. Now if we visit our app, admin store not defined. It should be image for images. Yeah, images. Okay, we'll be redirected to image upload page. If we now try to hit the upload button, we'll see a test message. Now let's validate the uploaded file properly. First, we generate a form request. Store image request. Inside the authorize method, just return true. And inside the rules, let's define validation rules to ensure each file is an image. Images should be required and array. So this rule ensures that the image field must be present in the request and must not be empty. If no files are selected, the validation will fail. Then this tells Laravel that the images field must be an array, not a single file, string, or anything else. It's needed because we are uploading multiple files, and they will be passed as an array of files. Now let's define rules for each individual file inside the images array. So that's what the wildcard means. So each file must be a valid image file. and each file must not exceed 2 MB in size. Back to our controller, and then inject the request here. Now, if we try uploading without file, we won't see any error. Let's fix that by displaying the version error, maybe here. Now the error appears when the input is invalid. Now let's store the uploaded file manually. We'll create a dated folder structure. Then we iterate over the uploaded files. And we'll generate a clean or unique file name for the image. Let's call a method, let's say make unique file name, and pass in the image file. After that, we store the file to the disk. Now let's define the make unique file name. It accepts an argument, uploaded file, inside the method we get the original file name, then we use path info and then pass in the original name and then assign to a variable. The info is an array, so we can get file name and extension from that. First, we use str slug to make the file name sluggable. Then we concatenate with time and then concatenate with file extension. Okay, now let's open up the .env file and then find file system disk. Let's change it to public, so our images will be public. Now let's try uploading. Okay, let me check in my editor. Go to storage, app, public, images. Okay, the image is saved in correct storage path. Once the files are uploaded, we can store relevant information about them in the database. This includes things like the original file name, the MIME type, the file size, and the storage path. But we're not storing the actual file in the database, only a reference to where the file is saved on the disk. By doing this, we keep the database clean and lightweight while still being able to easily retrieve and display the files whenever we need them. Let's generate a migration and model. We'll call it media. Now let's open up the media migration. Then go to the app method. There, let's define some columns. File name, and then MIME type, and then size, and then last is path. Now let's open up the media model. And then specify the fields in the fillable attribute like this. So this tells Laravel which attributes are mass assignable. In other words, which fields we're allowed to populate using methods like model create or model instance update. Without this, Laravel will block those fields from being filled to protect against mass assignment vulnerabilities, where attackers might try to insert unexpected or malicious data. So by explicitly listing only the fields we trust, like the file name, MIME type, size, and path, we keep our model secure and ensure only valid data gets saved to the database. Now let's go back to our controller and then go to store method. Actually, let's save the path here and then call media and then create. Let's fill file name with image file, get client original name, and then MIME type, get MIME type, and then size, get size, and then path with path. Let's give it a save. Oops. Should be comma. Back to our terminal and then run the last migration. Let me check in Thinker. Okay, our images is stored correctly. With that, it's time to display the uploaded files. To display uploaded images, let's go back to the model and then define an accessor. So this method generates a public URL for the file using Laravel's storage URL helper based on the path stored in the database. So whenever we access original URL, we get a full ready-to-use URL to view or display the uploaded image in the browser, even though it's not a real column in the table. Let's also add the original URL in appends attribute. So this tells Laravel to automatically include a computed property called original_URL whenever the model is converted to an array or JSON, for example, when passing it to a view or returning it from an API. Back to our controller, then define a new method. This method will be used to display our images. For simplicity, I will use the all method, but of course, you may use the paginate method, especially when you have a large amount of images. Then we return a view image.index and then pass in the media to the view. Okay, now let's go back to web.php and then define a new route. It's gonna be get. The path will be images and the action will be image controller index, and then the name will be images.index. Let's also change the root route to redirect to images.index. Okay, before we create the view, let me go back to image controller, go to store, and after upload, I can redirect the page to image.index, images.index. Okay, let's go back to here and then create another view, index blade PHP. Inside that, we add a heading. Let's also add a link that will redirect to upload image page. Then we add a URL element and then loop through the images using for each media as item, and then add a list item. Inside that, we add an image element, specify the source, and we'll call item original URL. Let's also add alt and specify item file name. Let's give it a save and have a look. Now, if the image appear broken, maybe we need to run PSP artisan storage link. Also, make sure you set the app URL correctly. It should be like this. Refresh. Okay. Now, to get the proper image size, for now, we'll force the width to maybe 320 pixel. Now, to save storage and bandwidth, let's resize the images before saving. Back to our terminal, and then install a package called intervention image. Now let's go back to our controller and then define a new method. I'll call it resize image. This method accepts an argument, which is uploaded file. And in this method, we'll resize the image. First, we initialize by calling the intervention image manager. Then use the imagic driver, which is the powerful and efficient for image manipulation. Then we call the read method. So we read the uploaded image file from its temporary location on the server. Here we call get real path. This method gives us the full file path so the library can access the raw image data. Then we resize the image using scale down. So we resize the image to have a maximum width, let's say 320 pixel. Of course, you may adjust the width as you need, but for this demo, I'll use 320 pixels. The height is automatically adjusted, so the image doesn't look stretched or squeezed. Finally, we return the resized image, so we can save it or manipulate it for the later. In short, this method reads an image, scales it down to a fixed width, and returns the resized image object ready to be saved. In the store method, we call the resize image method and then pass in the uploaded file. We assign it to a variable image, and we need to change how we store the file. We use storage and then specify the disk to public and then call the put method. First, we specify the path. The path will be folder and then file name. Since this method does not return a path, so we need to assign this to path variable. Then in the second argument, we pass the content. We can call the image object and then call the encode, and we need to cast to a string like this. Okay, let's now save the file and try uploading the file again. As you can see, the image is resized before it's stored. You don't need to force the width in your blade view. The file is already optimized. Now I'll try to upload multiple files. Then hit the upload button. Here you get error, request entity too large. This because hard only allow to upload 2 megabytes, as we can see here. So let me change to 5 megabytes, and maybe I need to restart. Try again, hit the upload button. Okay, now it works. And that's it. We built a complete multiple image upload system in Laravel with validation, proper file naming, database integration, public URLs, and image resizing with intervention image version 3. If this video helped you, give it a like, subscribe for more Laravel tutorials, and let me know in the comments what feature you'd like to add next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.